Okay, in this video, I'm going to go over a couple of things that you're going to need to know to do the projects. And I say projects because it's a screen formatting, but notice there are 4 different projects listed. You need to do all 4 separately and attach 4 files for me to grade. So you will attach the float3.cpp, the source file for that, special, you'll attach that one, the setprec, and the circumference one. So you will not submit any of these to me until you have all 4 finished, and then you're going to attach all 4 and submit them at the same time for me to grade. So each one is worth 15 points, making all 4 together worth a total of 60. So these are grouped together because they all have to do with our screen formatting. So sometimes we want a precision of 1 decimal point. So if there's a decimal that has a bunch of numbers after it, maybe we only want to see what that first one is, or to 2 or 3 or 4. So that's what this first one is talking about. Special is trying to get a line of code to actually print onto the screen. So there's something special and special. Okay, there's something special that you're going to have to do for each of these things that when you run special, that program, this is exactly the line that should show up. If you're missing anything in there, then it's not running correctly. When you run that black window, this needs to come up. So there is something that you need to find that is going to allow certain codes to show up as writing rather than interpreting them by code. So that you want to look in the book and see if you can figure that out. Setprec. So this again has to do with the decimals and how many numbers after the decimal point print to the screen. However, you're not deciding that. You're having the user decide that. So you're going to have to think about using a variable there with the command to make sure that no matter what the user picks, the computer will display that amount of digits correctly. And then circumference is going to also ask for some user input, and we'll get there. So let's start up with float and some things that you're going to need for all 4 of these programs. So if I come to my video example program, always remember that you need the title and you need the project purpose. Don't forget about those things at the top. We also need hashtag include IOStream. If you would be asking the user to input a word like you did for grades, then you would need to include string. If you're not asking them to type in a word, if we're just dealing with numbers, then you don't need to include string. And then we're going to have a new one here. We need to include IO manip. So that's going to allow us to do certain manipulations of the screen formatting. That's where that comes from. And then finally, we need using namespace, and there should be space in between there, namespace std semicolon. I'm going to do int main, open my brackets, braces there. And because we're dealing with decimals, we want to use floats. Well, that first assignment, float, says write a program that asks the user for 3 floating point numbers. So you're going to need to declare 3 floats. I'm going to declare 2 for my purposes. So float, I'm going to call the first one A, and I need a semicolon at the end of that, and then I'm going to float B. Again, this is just a guide. You are not copying my code. Come up with your own names. Make sure that you're making it 3. So then I need a cout statement because I need to tell the user what it is that I want them to input. So come up with a question or come up with a statement. Maybe I want to say type a number which includes a decimal. Okay, notice I used a capital letter to start the sentence. I used punctuation. I spelled everything correctly. This should look polished and professional. I'm going to end line there. Then I'm going to have a CN so that the user can enter something. And I don't want the quotes. What I want them to enter, I want to be stored in A. Then I want them to type in another number. So type another number, which includes a decimal. And CN, I want it to store it in my variable B. Okay, so however many times you do this, then we need a cout statement, cout dot set F, so it's like set format, and then we're going to use parentheses, ios, colon, fixed. Okay, this is going to allow us to use, and put a semicolon at the end, this is going to allow us to use some of those formatting codes. So when I finally want my result to print to the screen, I'm going to do a cout statement. And if we look back at the project, it wants them to print with this nice spacing, consistent spacing in between them. So we need to use some formatting for this. So what you probably used in InfoCard and possibly in grades was the one that you found on page 91, the tab. So we could do that. So we could do cout, and I want A to print to the screen. And then I want \T. That should print my tab. And then maybe I want B. And then I can do \T for another tab. And maybe I want A to print again. So I could keep going, do an end line, and I want to show you how this should space this out. So debug, start without debugging. So 1.2345, another number, so 98.0978. And it prints them to the screen. So I'm not finished here, because if we look back at the project, it says use a field width for the output that places the 3 numbers across the screen as shown in the example below. And it wanted a precision of 1 decimal point. So there's a couple things that I need to fix, because it does not have a precision of 1 decimal point. It has many more numbers after the decimal. And when it said a field width, then that means we're not using that tab. So I'm going to come back, and I'm going to show you how to do the field width. So it comes again with a cout. However, we're not doing the arrows, a cout width, which means we're going to indicate what amount of space we want there. So parentheses come after it, and this is where we're going to type in there the width that we want. Okay, so I'm going to start with 10 and see how that looks. You can adjust that number if you want it to be further away or you want it to be closer. 10 is usually a nice place to start with. And I'm going to end that with a semicolon. So now I have my cout width, and then I can do my cout. We need to set the precision. So that's from set precision. And here again, parentheses. Inside the parentheses is what I'm going to set the precision to. We want the precision to 1 decimal point. So 1 is going in there. And then I want A to print to the screen. And I can either continue on this line, by printing B and C, or if you prefer, you can do it on separate lines. So that, again, is just your coding preference. So then I want to set my spacing again. So cout dot width, I want another 10 spaces before I'm printing the next thing. And I'm going to do my cout, set precision to 1, and I want my B to print to the screen. Notice I'm not using end L's here. If I put an end L here, then it's not going to space them out on the same line. It's going to move it to the next line. I want all 3 of these to be on the same line, just like it shows on the project. Again, you're going to have 3 numbers, so you're going to have to continue this. And then I'm going to return 0. So do 12.456, and maybe I do 78.9014. Okay, so I have a space, 12.5, a nice consistent amount of space, 78.9. But now I'm seeing this press any key to continue is here. So I would probably go back into my code and put an end line after it prints my B to the screen so that press any key to the continue isn't smushed up like that. So I would probably come back here, do an end L, and now that'll adjust it. So there's the set precision. That is also what you're going to end up using for number 3, except now the user is going to input what they want the precision set to. So maybe you make this another variable. So it would be an integer because you can't have a decimal of decimal places. So maybe it's int C, and then I'm going to have to ask for that somewhere, and then I can put my variable in here that's going to pertain to whatever they inputted. Okay, so I gave you a good start on this. Anything else, use the link that I have in the comments to try to help you. Use the book, and if you're getting really stuck, then call me over.